What happens when one of the most beloved figures in American entertainment walks into a studio expecting a friendly conversation and instead finds herself defending everything she stands for? What happens when Southern charm collides head-on with sharp political commentary? When a woman known for bringing people together suddenly has to fight to make her voice heard? This is the story of the day Dolly Parton had enough. If you want to see how this unfolds, hit that subscribe button right now and drop a comment below telling me whose side you are on. Because what you are about to witness is one of the most intense moments in daytime television history. The view set was buzzing with its usual energy as Dolly Parton walked out to thunderous applause. The audience was on their feet immediately, a sea of smiling faces greeting the country music icon. Joy Behar stood to welcome her, along with the other co-hosts. And as Dolly settled into her seat, the warmth in the room was palpable. Everyone loved Dolly. That was the thing about her. She had this universal appeal that transcended politics, age, and background. Joy started with what seemed like a softball question. So Dolly, you have been in the public eye for decades. And through all of it, you have managed to stay relatively quiet about politics. In this climate, how do you do that? Dolly smiled, that signature smile, the one that had disarmed millions. Well, Joy, I have always believed that my job is to entertain people and bring them joy, not to divide them. I have fans on all sides of every issue, and I love them all. I do not think it is my place to tell people how to think or how to vote. Joy nodded, but there was something in her expression that suggested she was not entirely satisfied with that answer. But Dolly, do not you think that silence can be complicity? I mean, we are living in times where things are pretty black and white. There are clear right sides and wrong sides to history. Dolly's smile did not waver, but her eyes sharpened just slightly. I do not think anything is as black and white as people want to make it out to be. Joy, I think most people are doing the best they can with what they know. I am not silent. I just choose to speak through my actions rather than my politics. I have given millions to literacy programs, to vaccine research, to helping people after natural disasters. I think that speaks louder than any political statement I could make. Joy leaned forward, her tone becoming more pointed. But actions happen in a political context, right? Like your vaccine donation. That was during a time when one particular political party was spreading misinformation about vaccines. By not calling that out, are not you kind of enabling that misinformation? The audience got quiet. This was not the lighthearted Dolly Parton interview they had expected. Dolly took a breath, her hands folded in her lap, still maintaining her composure. I donated to vaccine research because I believe in science, and I believe in helping people. I did not do it to make a political statement. If people want to politicize that, that is their choice. But my motivation was purely about saving lives. Sure, but you have influence. Joy pressed on. You have a platform, and with that platform comes responsibility. When you see injustice, when you see people's rights being taken away, how can you just stay neutral? I never said I was neutral on injustice. Joy, I have spent my entire life standing up for people who feel left out or left behind. I built Dollywood in an area that desperately needed economic opportunity. I have supported the LGBTQ community for decades, long before it was popular to do so. But I do it with love, not with judgment or finger-pointing. Joy was not backing down. Okay, but love does not pay for someone's healthcare. Love does not protect voting rights. At some point, do not you think you need to get specific about where you stand? Dolly's voice remained steady, but there was steel underneath now. I stand with people. Joy, all people. Not just the ones who think like me or vote like me. I stand with the coal miner who is worried about feeding his family. And I stand with the person fighting for their right to marry who they love. I do not think I have to choose sides in order to care about people. But that is a cop-out, Joy shot back, her voice rising slightly. You cannot care about everyone equally when some people are actively hurting others. That is not neutrality, that is just avoiding the hard conversations. The other co-hosts shifted uncomfortably. This was getting tense. Dolly's smile had completely faded now, replaced with a serious expression that few people had ever seen from her. I am not avoiding anything. Joy, I have lived through enough to know that the world is not as simple as the way you are painting it. I grew up dirt poor in the mountains of Tennessee. I know what it is like to be looked down on, to be dismissed because of where you come from or how you talk. And I learned that meeting people with judgment and self-righteousness does not change their minds. It just makes them dig in deeper. Joy's eyes flashed. So what? We are just supposed to hug it out with people who want to take away reproductive rights. We are just supposed to sing kumbaya with people who are okay with discrimination. That is not what I am saying, and you know it. Dolly replied, her voice firm now. What I am saying is that screaming at people and calling them names does not work. It never has. Real change happens when you treat people with dignity, even when you disagree with them. Especially when you disagree with them. That sounds like privilege talking. Joy countered. It is easy to preach unity and love when your rights are not on the chopping block. But for a lot of people, this is not academic. This is their lives. Dolly leaned forward, her eyes locked on Joy's. Do not you dare talk to me about privilege. I grew up in a one-room cabin with 11 brothers and sisters. I have been underestimated and undervalued my entire life because I am a woman, because of how I look, because of my accent. I have fought for every single thing I have, and I have done it without tearing other people down. So do not sit there and lecture me about understanding struggle. The audience was dead silent now. This was not the Dolly they knew, or maybe it was a side of her they had never seen. Joy seemed momentarily taken aback, but recovered quickly. I am not trying to dismiss your struggles, Dolly. I am just saying that staying above the fray is not always possible. Sometimes you have to get in the mud, and sometimes getting in the mud just means everyone ends up dirty. Dolly replied. I have watched this country tear itself apart over the last few years, and I do not think the answer is more fighting. I think the answer is remembering that we are all human beings trying to get through this life the best we can. Joy shook her head. I just think that is naive. There are real villains in the world, Dolly. There are people who are actively trying to hurt others. At what point do you say enough is enough? I say enough is enough every single day, Dolly said, her voice rising for the first time. But I say it by building hospitals and funding schools and creating opportunities. I say it by treating every person I meet with respect, whether they are a janitor or a president. I say it by living my values instead of just talking about them. But you are not answering the question, Joy persisted. Where do you stand on abortion rights? Where do you stand on gun control? Where do you stand on the former president? These are not abstract issues. Where I stand, Dolly said slowly, carefully, is with the belief that I can care about people without demanding they think exactly like me. Where I stand is with the belief that my music and my work can bring people together instead of driving them apart. Where I stand is with the belief that kindness is not weakness and that love is not the same as agreement. Joy sat back in her chair, studying Dolly for a moment. So you are really not going to tell us how you vote? You are not going to give us anything concrete? No, Dolly said simply, because the moment I do, half the people who love my music will feel betrayed or dismissed. And I am not willing to do that for a soundbite or an applause line. My political views are between me and my ballot box, and I intend to keep it that way, even if that means enabling the status quo. Joy asked. Even if that means people suffer while you stay comfortable in your neutrality. Dolly's jaw tightened. I have spent millions of my own dollars helping people. I have used my platform to champion literacy, to fight poverty, to support communities that nobody else cares about. Do not sit there and tell me I am comfortable in neutrality when I have probably done more concrete good than most politicians who spend all day tweeting about how much they care. Joy's expression hardened. Okay, but doing charity work does not absolve you from taking a stand on human rights issues. You can build all the libraries you want, but if you are not speaking out against the people who are banning books, then what is the point? Dolly's hands gripped the armrests of her chair. The point is that I am actually making a difference in people's lives. I am not just sitting around talking about problems. I am solving them. Every child who learns to read because of my program. Every family that has a job because of Dollywood. Every person who got a vaccine because of my donation. Those are real tangible impacts. What are you doing besides yelling at people on television? The audience gasped. One of the other co-hosts tried to interject, but Joy held up her hand. Wow, Dolly, that is quite an accusation. I use this platform to hold powerful people accountable. I give voice to issues that matter. That is not nothing. I never said it was nothing, Dolly replied, her voice steady but firm. But you asked me why I do not get more political, and I am telling you it is because I think there are better ways to change the world than dividing people into teams and keeping score. You want me to denounce half the country so the other half will cheer for me. That is not courage. Joy, that is pandering. Joy's face flushed. I am not asking you to denounce anyone. I am asking you to stand up for what is right. There is a difference. And who decides what is right? Dolly asked. You, me, the people who agree with us. I have news for you. Joy, everyone thinks they are on the right side. Everyone thinks they are the good guys in the story. But maybe, just maybe, the world is more complicated than good guys and bad guys. So there is no such thing as right and wrong anymore. Joy's voice dripped with sarcasm. Is that what you are telling me? We are all just supposed to accept that everything is relative and nobody is accountable for anything. That is not what I said, and you know it. Dolly shot back. Of course there is right and wrong. But I also know that most people are not purely one or the other. Most people are scared and confused and trying to do right by their families. And when you talk down to them, when you call them names and treat them like they are stupid or evil, you lose any chance of reaching them. Maybe I do not want to reach them, Joy said flatly. Maybe some people are beyond reaching. Maybe some beliefs are so toxic that they do not deserve a seat at the table. And that right there is the problem, Dolly said, pointing her finger for emphasis. That attitude right there is why this country is falling apart. Because the moment you decide someone is not worth talking to, the moment you write off millions of people as beyond redemption, you have given up on democracy itself. Democracy requires us to engage with people we disagree with. It requires us to find common ground even when it is hard. Common ground with people who want to strip away rights. Joy shook her head. Sorry, Dolly, but I am not going to compromise on fundamental human dignity. Neither am I, Dolly said firmly, but I also refuse to believe that everyone who disagrees with me on policy is a monster. I have met too many good people with different perspectives to buy into that simplistic narrative. Life is not a television show where everyone fits into neat little boxes. But you are on a television show right now, Joy pointed out, and you are using your platform to both sides issues that do not have both sides. Some things are just wrong, period. And if you cannot say that, then what good is your influence? My influence has built schools. Joy. My influence has fed hungry children. My influence has given people hope when they had none. What I will not do is use that influence to make people feel small or stupid because they do not think exactly like I do. That is not leadership, that is bullying. Calling out injustice is not bullying, Joy said sharply. And frankly, I am disappointed that you cannot see the difference. You have so much power, so much respect, and you are choosing to waste it on this kumbaya nonsense instead of actually helping the people who need it most. Dolly stood up suddenly, and the whole studio seemed to hold its breath. You think I am not helping people? You think building economic opportunity in forgotten communities is not helping? You think funding education for children who would not have access otherwise is not helping? You think giving people jobs and dignity and a sense of pride is not helping? Let me tell you something, Joy. I have done more to lift people out of poverty than most politicians will do in their entire careers. And I did it without asking anyone for their voting record first. Sit down, Dolly, one of the other hosts said nervously, trying to diffuse the situation. Let us all just take a breath. No, Dolly said, still standing. I have been sitting quietly while Joy here lectures me about responsibility and influence. But I am done being quiet. You want to know why I do not get more political? This is why. Because the moment you step into that arena, it stops being about helping people and starts being about winning arguments. It stops being about solutions and starts being about sound bites. And I refuse to play that game. So you are just going to take your ball and go home? Joy asked, her arms crossed. You are going to retreat into your bubble where everyone loves you and nobody challenges you. I am not in a bubble, Dolly said, her voice like ice. I talk to people from all walks of life every single day. I listen to them. I hear their fears and their hopes and their struggles. And you know what I have learned? Most people are not as angry as you think they are. Most people are exhausted by the fighting. They are tired of being told they have to choose a side in every single issue. They just want to live their lives and take care of their families. Well, that is privilege, Joy said again. The privilege to opt out of politics because it does not affect you personally. It affects everyone personally, Dolly countered. Every decision made in Washington affects real people with real lives. But treating politics like a sport where you keep score and celebrate when the other team loses, that does not help anyone. It just makes everyone more entrenched in their positions. So, what is your solution? Joy asked. We all just stop having opinions. We all just smile and nod while the world burns. My solution is that we start treating each other like human beings, instead of political symbols, Dolly said. My solution is that we have conversations instead of confrontations. My solution is that we remember that the person across from us is somebody's mother or father or child, not just a representative of everything we hate about the world. That is easy to say when you are Dolly Parton, Joy replied. When you are rich and famous and insulated from the consequences of policy decisions. But what about the people who are not insulated? What about the people who are actually suffering? You think I do not know suffering? Dolly's voice rose again. You think I have forgotten where I came from? I remember going to bed hungry, Joy. I remember wearing clothes made from feed sacks. I remember what it is like to be treated like you are less than nothing because you are poor. So do not stand there and tell me I do not understand suffering or that I am out of touch with regular people. Then act like it, Joy challenged. Use your voice for something other than staying neutral. Be brave enough to say what you really think instead of hiding behind this folksy aw shucks persona. This is not a persona, Dolly said, her voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. This is who I am. I am not hiding behind anything. I am being exactly who I have always been, a person who believes in treating others with kindness and respect. And if that makes me naive or cowardly in your eyes, then so be it. But I would rather be kind than right, if that is the choice. Why does it have to be a choice? Joy asked, genuinely seeming confused now. Why cannot you be both kind and take a stand? Because taking a stand the way you want me to means drawing lines in the sand, Dolly explained. It means saying these people are acceptable and these people are not. And I am not willing to do that. I have fans who are conservative and fans who are liberal. I have fans who are religious and fans who are atheists. I have fans who are rich and fans who are barely getting by. And they all deserve to feel welcome at my concerts. To feel like my music is for them. The moment I start picking sides, I lose that. But you are picking a side, Joy insisted. By refusing to pick a side, you are picking the side of the status quo. You are picking the side of the powerful. Or maybe I am refusing to accept your premise that there are only two sides, Dolly said. Maybe I am saying that life is more complicated than that. Maybe I am saying that we need more bridges and fewer walls. Pretty words, Joy said dismissively, but words do not protect people. Policy protects people. Laws protect people. And those things require political action, which requires picking a side. I vote, Dolly said simply. I participate in democracy. I just do it privately, the way it is supposed to be done. The secret ballot exists for a reason. Joy, it is so people can vote their conscience without fear of retribution or judgment. Joy leaned back, studying Dolly with narrowed eyes. The secret ballot was created to protect people from intimidation, not to let celebrities avoid accountability. You are not just some regular voter, Dolly. You are an icon. You have influence that could actually move the needle on important issues. And I use that influence every single day, Dolly said, finally sitting back down but maintaining her intensity. Just not in the way you want me to. You want me to be a weapon in your political battles, and I am telling you I will not do it. Nobody is asking you to be a weapon, Joy said, though her tone suggested otherwise. We are asking you to be a leader. To show people that it is okay to stand for something. I stand for plenty of things, Dolly replied. I stand for education. I stand for economic opportunity. I stand for treating people with dignity, regardless of who they are or where they come from. What I will not stand for is the idea that you have to hate half the country in order to help the other half. Nobody said anything about hate, Joy protested. Did you not? Dolly challenged. Because that is what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you think anyone who does not agree with you is either evil or stupid. And I am sorry, Joy, but that is just not how the world works. I know plenty of intelligent, compassionate people who have different political views than I do. And I am not going to write them off just because we do not see eye to eye on everything. But some things are not negotiable. Joy pressed. Human rights are not negotiable. Equality is not negotiable. Justice is not negotiable. I agree with that completely, Dolly said. Where we differ is in how we define those things and how we go about achieving them. You seem to think there is only one right way to think about these issues, and anyone who deviates from that is the enemy. I think that is a dangerous way to look at the world. What is dangerous is staying silent while people suffer, Joy countered. What is dangerous is pretending everything is fine when it is not. What is dangerous is putting your brand and your popularity above doing what is right. Dolly's eyes flashed with real anger now. My brand? You think this is about protecting my brand? Let me tell you something, Joy. I could have retired 20 years ago. I could have taken my money and disappeared. But I did not. I stayed in the public eye because I genuinely believe I can make a difference. And I have made a difference, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. Making charitable donations is not the same as standing up for what is right, Joy said stubbornly. It is the bare minimum for someone with your wealth. The bare minimum. Dolly's voice was incredulous now. I have given away more money than most people will ever see in their lifetimes. I have created thousands of jobs. I have funded research that has saved lives. But because I will not perform for you on television, because I will not give you the political statement you want, suddenly none of that matters. It matters, Joy conceded. But it is not enough. Not when so much is at stake. It will never be enough for you, Dolly said quietly. Because what you really want is not for me to help people. What you want is for me to validate your worldview. You want me to say that everyone who thinks differently than you is wrong. And I will not do it. Because you are afraid of losing fans, Joy said. Let us just be honest about that. No, Dolly said firmly. Because I believe in grace. I believe in redemption. I believe that people can grow and change. And I believe that the only way to help someone grow is to meet them where they are, not where you wish they would be. When you start from a place of judgment and condemnation, you have already lost them. Some people do not want to grow, Joy argued. Some people are perfectly happy being bigots and bullies. What do you do with them? You love them anyway, Dolly said simply. Not because they deserve it, but because love is the only thing that has any chance of changing a heart. Anger does not change hearts, Joy. Fear does not change hearts. Shame does not change hearts. Only love does. That is incredibly naive, Joy said, shaking her head. You cannot love someone out of racism. You cannot love someone out of homophobia. These are learned behaviors that need to be confronted directly. And I do confront them, Dolly insisted. Just not on television for everyone to see. I have had countless private conversations with people where I have challenged their thinking, where I have asked them to reconsider their positions. And you know what? Sometimes it works. Sometimes people do change, but they do not change because someone screamed at them or called them names. They change because someone they respected showed them a different way of seeing things. How convenient that all these conversations happen in private, Joy said sarcastically, where nobody can see them or verify them. Dolly stared at her for a long moment. You really do not get it, do you? This is not about optics for me. This is not about being seen, doing the right thing. This is about actually doing it. Real change happens in living rooms and around dinner tables, not on television sets. Real change happens when you build relationships with people, when you earn their trust, when you show them through your actions that you care about them as human beings. So your trust is more important than justice, Joy said flatly. My trust is what allows me to do justice, Dolly corrected. You want to know the truth? The people you are trying to reach, the people whose minds you are trying to change, they are not watching this show. They turned off networks like this a long time ago because they felt attacked and dismissed. But they still listen to my music. They still come to Dollywood. They still read my books to their children. And that gives me an opportunity that you do not have. Joy sat silent for a moment. Then she said, so you are saying we should all just stop speaking out? Stop fighting for what we believe in? That is not what I am saying at all, Dolly replied, her voice softening slightly. You should absolutely fight for what you believe in. But maybe consider that fighting does not always have to mean attacking. Maybe consider that you can stand for something without standing against someone. Those are just platitudes, Joy said, but her voice lacked its earlier conviction. No, Dolly said. Those are principles I have lived by for 70+ years. And they have served me pretty well. They have allowed me to build bridges instead of burning them. They have allowed me to bring people together instead of driving them apart. And in a world that seems determined to tear itself to pieces, I think that matters. Even if it means staying silent on issues that matter. Joy asked one more time. I am not silent, Dolly said with finality. I am just selective about when and how I speak. And I refuse to let anyone, including you, tell me that the only way to care about something is to turn it into a public spectacle. Finally, Dolly stood up to leave. I came here today hoping to talk about my new album. Instead, I have spent the last however long defending my entire approach to life. And you know what? I do not regret a single thing I said.